Hi everyone, welcome to the Oracle Linux Tux Tech Talk, Reducing Manual Processes in DevOps. All lines will be muted throughout the session, but please use the Q&A button to ask questions at any time. We'll be answering your questions throughout the event. And a quick note, this session is being recorded. Please welcome our speakers today, Panyan Taidi, Product Marketing Director at Oracle, Simon Haler, Senior Principal Technical Product Manager at Oracle, and Simon Courter, Director of Product Management at Oracle. So let's begin.
Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you Simon Courter and Simon Haler. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to hear. Do you mind sharing where you guys are located as we speak?
Okay, so I'll go first as Simon Haler. So I'm actually based in the UK. I live in quite a rural town in the southeast of England.
Well, I'm Simon Cotter, and I'm based in Milan, so the north of Italy.
Great. And I'm here based in Cupertino, California. So we have a pretty global presentation here today. Okay, well, let's dive right into our topic today. In recent reports, you see that 86% of organizations cite having too many manual processes as a challenge in managing their IT environment and spend. What are some of these challenges and issues that they're facing in their DevOps environment?
Yeah, Panyan. So obviously, those are tedious and time-consuming operations, right? And at the same time, if you're going to approach this kind of requirements with a manual approach or manual steps, it's going to be something difficult to operate at scale, right? It's also going to be something that is error-prone, because again, when there's a manual process, it means that there's one person behind managing those steps, and an error can be done. At the same time, lack of standardization is another issue, right? With the manual approach, you are not able to define and maintain a standard on your IT environments, and obviously it's also difficult to maintain in the time, right? And IGER is the number of systems you're going to manage, and IGER is the probability that you're going to fail there, right? And obviously there's an increased exposure, right? Even in terms of security and the configuration drift between your systems. So you're going to have so many different systems, so many different configurations, and each of them will be on its own, right? Because there's no standard, everything is manually managed. And the problem is that IGER is the number of systems you're going to manage, and IGER is the difficulty to manage them. Yeah, and at one point, even getting more people doing the same thing won't get to the solution, right? Because it will continue again to be something that can always fail in some way.
Okay, so I see how manual processes are very slow and really hard to scale and manage, and they're error prone, so they really impact security and stability of the environment. So let me ask you, how does automation help with these issues?
So automation does bring us many benefits. And we talk about infrastructure as code, and infrastructure as code and configuration management go hand in hand here. So infrastructure as code manages infrastructure using a descriptive model. So a kind of blueprint, if you will. So this is actually how I want my end system to be configured. So that's that point in time of where I want. And that kind of infrastructure can be networking, can be virtual machines, load balancers, that kind of stuff. And so by using this kind of like creating this infrastructure or configuration using code, so we use that model to produce the same environment every time it's applied. And so configuration management helps us by maintaining consistency of an application's performance, as well as its functional and physical inputs, along with requirements, design, operations, through the kind of life cycle of through its whole life cycle. So if we kind of look at also, what's the business impact of using automation? And one of the main and most important things is it reduces cost. And it reduces cost by reducing human error as well, because you're not going to have an administrator maybe having to go and configure 100 systems, for example, doing the same thing. And then, you know, if he's not had his, you know, their morning coffee or something like that, and they might not be feeling quite on par. So they maybe could be some human error in there. And, you know, human error breeds kind of like, we don't have the same kind of security, and therefore the system doesn't stay up as long in maybe in some cases. And also we get this concept of what we call configuration drift, where if someone has made a change, then that one system may be completely out with all the rest, which is really bad news. And it could even be, you know, completely accidental, like another administrator who was doing something completely different, even something silly like adding a user, goes in and makes a change and doesn't realize what they've done is now going to be causing an issue. You know, that's easily fixed, or, you know, by actually putting some automation in place. And really by taking that time away from these other administrators who are doing stuff, that frees them up to do maybe more important stuff, to look at future projects, analyze, you know, what's coming next, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of impact that automation will have. And then, so if we look at some of the benefits that these tools bring, you know, one of them is making sure things get, you know, applications get installed and upgraded, and you know, with a defined, you know, standard, so we know exactly what version we're having, you know, and exactly what other kind of bits that are needed to actually make it happen. And it eliminates this need for this concept of what I call a manual hotfix, where, so, you know, the administrator dives in and has to make some changes. Similar to what I just said about the business impact, where, you know, a mistake happens, that kind of stuff. And so, you know, all those kind of benefits are really, so we get consistency and we get really rigorous version control as well. And we're also able to really quickly recover from critical events that happen, and also spin up exact configuration. Say, okay, I want QE stream 4, bang, 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 and it's done. And you know it's going to be exactly as we want it. And conversely to that, we can roll back. So if we want to go down a stream or up a stream, then you can do that simply by running that particular job.
That's great. I can see the many benefits. So let me ask you, how has the open source community helped with these automation tools?
Yeah, Barnian, the open source community has been very active in this space. Mostly with 2 upstream projects have created the foundation for standardizing the automation across IT environments. The first one is related to Ansible. So Ansible open source projects. Ansible automates and simplifies repetitive, complex, and tedious operations, right? So it brings huge time saving. When, for example, when users are going to install packages or apply configurations on their system or a huge number of systems. Its architecture is quite simple and effective, and it works by connecting your nodes and pushing some small programs or small code to your IT environments. Ansible provides a complete automation framework at the end, and also orchestration capabilities. And it enables software provisioning, configuration management, as well as application deployment. And this one is a really good point. It's an agentless push architecture. What does it mean? It means that you are not required to install any kind of agent or program or software on your nodes or your systems to get them managed by Ansible. And it uses playbooks, right? Playbooks at the end contains a series of repeatable tasks or repeatable operations. And this one is one of the 2 main open source projects. The other one is AWX. AWX adds a web-based user interface, right? Because while Ansible is great, while managing so many systems, having the opportunity to have a GUI at the end, to have a web-based solution, allows you, for example, to easily get a quick overlook of your systems, but at the same time also, for example, understand and manage what had been executed in the past on your all of your systems. And AWX also provides a centralized web management interface. So one unique web management interface where you can manage all of your systems. And it's also role-based access control based. That means that all the users, all the administrators are going to get access to the solution, will have proper roles. So I can define, or I can decide that an administrator will get access to a subset of my systems in the company. And AWX automates the tasks, like, for example, the job scheduling, right? So job scheduler is one of the features that is there on AWX. Inventory management, so the management of all your 4 systems. And so you can even define groups, logical groups of your systems, or define groups by service within your company. You have a reporting, you have a workflow automation, you have the opportunity to share credentials on those systems, and different tools are also available there. And those 2 are the main open source project that address all the requirements related to the automation.
So you really need both Ansible and AWX to automate your environment.
If you want, you can only leverage Ansible. But again, when Ansible is there, you are going to immediately see a possible limitation, right? So, for example, history, or a quick overview of all of your systems, or even, for example, understand when the execution of a particular job failed, right? With the GUI, this kind of thing are immediately visible.
Right. Right. So now let me ask you, Simon Haler, how does Oracle support these open source projects?
So yeah, great question, Pauline. So actually, we are key contributors to these particular projects. And taking both of those, we announced our product, which is the Oracle Linux Automation Manager, which, as Simon said, is based on AWX. So that's the UI, role-based access control, scheduling, that kind of stuff. And the automation engine, which is based on the Ansible project. And so we released those 2 together as a single product on August the 18th this year. And so really, I just wanted to quickly sort of like talk about the benefits, really. So what does it give us? We put these 2 things together for you. So what does it give you in benefits? One of the main things is actually, so if you're a user already of AWX or Ansible, then what you can do is you will probably be using quite a lot of playbooks. And these are created in YAML format, very simple to do. And it's effectively, as I described earlier, it's your blueprint. It's your blueprint of actually how you want these systems to be configured. And so if you do have these already, if you're familiar with them, then you can actually, within the automation manager, you can actually reuse those. And you can use those from the Git repository, or you can actually store them locally on the system. So you can either create your own, or you can reuse the ones you've already got. And that's really essential, in actually ensuring that you install your applications and your software properly, and you implement the changes you want. Also, you can control your configuration drift, as I said earlier. So people have done stuff they shouldn't have done, and you can just run it, and so you get the benefits of that. And you also get benefits of increased security standards and the ability to really rapidly change things. So if you find out a system is not as it should be, you can really, really quickly do it. And also to actually remediate that, you can ensure that the users who are pressing the buttons and making things work definitely have the ability and control to be able to, yes, I can do that, and I'm certainly not going to be able to do something that's actually outside of my remit.
Now, can you walk us through an example scenario of how you'd use the Automation Manager and Engine?
Sure, yeah. So let's take an example, which is actually quite a common one, actually, to do with SE Linux. So SE Linux is the security enhanced version of the Linux kernel. And so, for example, if you're a customer that has a dev environment, a QA environment, and production environment, it's highly likely your production environment will be set, the SE Linux will be set to enforcing, which kind of puts this added layer of security on top of what you already configured. Now, probably, or maybe your dev systems don't have that setting, and maybe your QA doesn't either. So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, let's have a common standard policy here that SE Linux is actually set to enforcing, for example, on all of our systems. So not just production, but QA and development. And so what you can do is you can create this playbook to do that. And so what it will do is it will go out and it will actually say, right, okay, I'm going to be, what the blueprint wants is we want everything to be set to enforcing. And so it will go out on all the inventory. So it will go out and say, for example, the QA inventory of servers, the dev inventory of servers, and production, actually, because there might be one or two that maybe haven't been configured properly. And so then what it will do is the automation manager will then ship that to the engine will go out to all the targets in the inventories, and it will then fix it. So basically it will set everything to enforcing. Okay. And so a couple of other examples that you could do. So you could collect information on a wide and distributed set of systems. If you want to pull information back to run some sort of reporting on it or to take a look at it. And you can do simple things like scheduling a Yum update. So for example, in our lab, we do a Yum update every Sunday night at 11:30 p.m, for example. And also in there, you can put some logic in there that says, actually, that's a different, that's definitely a downtime, that's a quiet time. So therefore, if I do a Yum update, which is scheduled, and I do need to have a reboot of the system for some reason, then the actual system will, the actual playbook itself will do that as well. And you can also do other stuff like install a package, configured networking, firewalls, kernel settings, that kind of thing. And the really nice bit about it is we have this idempotency approach where what that really means is you can run a playbook or actually on any host. And actually, if that host is in the desired state of how it should be, then nothing's going to happen. So no other configuration is going to change. Nothing else is going to be set back to default. So you know that time and time again, even if you run it on every host and it's actually in the final state, it won't cause any problem whatsoever.
These are very powerful tools, and it looks like it will make a lot of sysadmins and IT managers very happy. Now, let me take a moment and remind people that they can put in their questions through the Q&A button. I see some questions are coming in, and we do have experts that are replying to them, and at the end, we'll pick a few and answer live. Okay, now you've mentioned playbooks quite a few times. Can you tell us a little bit more about them?
And this one is obviously a great question. So playbooks offer a repeatable, reusable, simple configuration management and also multi-machine deployment system. That at the end gives you the opportunity to get a piece of code and the same executed on more environments at the same time. So if you, for example, if you need to execute a task with Ansible more than once, right? Or you can write a playbook and put it under source control. Then you can use this playbook to push out the new configuration or confirm the configuration of remote systems. An interesting point is that while leveraging Oracle Linux Automation Manager, you're not required to start from scratch, right? At the end, playbooks are there, and you can reuse an existing playbook, customize the same, and apply the final result to all of your environments. Playbooks are expressed in YAML format, so YAML. And the important thing to know is that there's a short learning curve for YAML. So it's very, very readable. You're not required to be a developer. And so you can easily automate all of the steps that you're required to get in place for your systems. Even if you are not a developer, you can immediately understand the existing code that others already wrote there. You can modify them, you can apply them on your systems. And at the end, Ansible playbooks help IT staff program applications, services, server nodes, or other devices without the manual overhead of creating everything from scratch, right? And so Ansible playbooks can be, again, saved, shared, and also reused.
Thank you. We've been talking about the Automation Manager. Can we see it in action?
Absolutely. That's probably the best thing. So we've talked about it quite a bit. Let's actually see it in action. So what we'll do is we'll log in. You can have a look at the actual UI itself, and we'll run a playbook or two, show a schedule, and then also sort of like reinforce this idea of idempotency. So we're logged in to Oracle Linux Automation Manager as user Simon H, and my particular user is an administrator, so I can more or less do anything. Now we can provide different types of users who have less privilege, or who have actually certain privilege to run certain tasks. And they can also be part of teams, and those particular teams can be part of organizations. And the idea of that is they can kind of share resources and share templates and projects and that kind of thing. So when we do firstly log in, we actually see the dashboard. The dashboard gives us a kind of an overall view of what we have. So for example, there's a links to the amount of hosts I've got, the inventories, projects, and also a nice graph-based job status, which tells me how many jobs have been successful, how many have failed on certain days, which is really useful. And you can also use a different cadence for this, so you can actually different period there to look at different time spans. They also tell us what the most recently used templates was, so we can see here, and we can also jump straight to those particular templates and run them, and also whichever jobs have been run recently. So with respect to using the actual system, first of all, we really need to set up what we call a project. Now, projects are kind of an area where you store your playbooks. So, for example, here we've got the demo local repository. Now, as part of the product, we provide two playbooks, one to do a yum update and one to install HTTPD and configure a firewall. And so that's a manual project. So it's part of the local file system. So you may actually have a Git-based repository. If you're not new to AWX, Oracle Linux Automation Manager, you may actually have a Git repository with playbooks that you're already currently using, and you can reuse those as part of that. Or if you want to keep things local, then you can create another manual local repository, which I've done here under Simon H, which any playbooks that I create myself and want to run, I can keep them there. Inventories are where we can have logical containers for our target hosts. Here I've got these done by Oracle Linux version, so OL 6, 7, and 8. Credentials are where we store things like SSH credentials for the hosts, and if you've got a Git repository you want to get access to, then you can store them in there. And the most important part is actually the templates. Now, templates are where we actually create a workflow to run a job, and that particular job could be to a specific inventory, or it could actually ask you if you want to choose an inventory, and we can run them quickly from here as well. Also, we've got the ability, if you see here, we've got schedules here. So a schedule is where you can actually put a job in there to be reoccurring, a scheduled job. And for example, I've got one which does a yum update, and if necessary, it would actually reboot the host as well. So that's really useful. So you can have a kind of regular schedule to actually run your template or your job. So let's have a look at a job here. So we can see here, so these particular little boxes let us know how many times this has been run and if it's successful or not. So green is successful, red is unsuccessful. And so let's pick this one. So we'll get our launcher. So we click on that. And what it then asks to, it says, where do you want to run it against? So we're going to install HTTP and configure a firewall. So I'm going to choose my OL8 inventory. So we click next. We're not going to put any extra variables in. So it's a playbook run. And so we're going to launch the particular job. Now, Oracle Linux Automation Manager now puts this stuff together. We know where we're actually going to run it, and then the engine will go out and actually run the job itself. So we can see it's running. It's not finished, and the local inventory, and we can now start to see some results here. So I've actually run this job previously, and so one of the lovely things about, or the great features of the product is we provide idempotency. What that means is I can run playbooks, or a playbook on a set of an inventory of hosts. And if that playbook has already been run and there's hosts in there that actually are successfully configured, none of the configuration will change. So it will still end up in the desired state we want. So for here, for example, we're doing 4 tasks. So we're installing the packages, and we can see here our 3 hosts. They've already got the packages installed. They've already got HTTPD running. The port is already open, but the change is a part of the actual tasks is we restart the firewall anyway. So we can see in green, everything's okay. And the only thing that's actually changed is the actual firewall D service has been restarted. And we can see in here are, as I say, the job that has been recently run, which is the one we just now. So that's a very quick high-level view of Oracle Linux Automation Manager.
It's great to see the actual tools and get a glimpse of what they can do. Now, we also have Oracle Linux Manager. How is that different from Oracle Linux Automation Manager?
Yeah, good question, Parnian. So, as we already said, Oracle Linux Automation Manager is there for possibly automating any kind of process on your systems. Oracle Linux Manager, also known as Spacewalk, is our management solution for provisioning as well as patching your Oracle Linux systems. So with Oracle Linux Manager, you have the ability to provision new Oracle Linux systems, as well as maintaining them in terms of security and bug fixes. So by one unique web interface with Oracle Linux Manager, you have those two capabilities, provisioning as well as patching. That said, another important piece that we could also mention on this question is related to Oracle Enterprise Manager. Oracle Enterprise Manager is our, if you want, it's our solution for maintaining your environments, right? So it's first of all, it's a solution that was born many years ago. Initially was there as the management solution for the Oracle database, while today is the centralized and single pane of glass where you can really manage all the possible Oracle products, starting from Oracle Linux, arriving to the Oracle database, as well as applications running on top. And Oracle Enterprise Manager is there mostly for administration, as well as reporting and compliance.
Got it. So if you have a lot of Oracle software, you probably are using Oracle Enterprise Manager already, and you could use it for Oracle Linux as well. Let me now ask you, there's a lot of people who are using these open source projects, Ansible and AWX, without any support or open source, or they're using support from other vendors. Why should they use Oracle's, support for these and Oracle Linux Automation Manager and Engine? What are the benefits there?
Yeah, I think that the most important benefit is to rely on a stable and reliable release, right? Because if you look at the open source projects or open source options, at the end over there, you can easily see a daily build or even more daily builds available, and could be a problem or could be an issue to understand which one could be a good fit for your production environments. At Oracle, we have our own solution, again, Oracle Linux Automation Manager, that is built from the open source project, but at the same time is also tested and supported by Oracle. So stable and reliable, as well as the support, so the enterprise support coming from Oracle. While looking at other vendor solution, the important thing to know is that Oracle Linux Automation Manager is today included in the Oracle Linux Premier support, which means obviously huge savings. While, for example, competitors are today charging a further support subscription to get access to the code for Ansible stuff, right? The interesting point is that with the Oracle Linux Premier support, you're not going to get only access to or the support for Oracle Linux Automation Manager. Oracle Linux Premier support includes the operating system support, as well as many other components. The other important point that I would like to add is that for people today leveraging Ansible or AWX from the open source projects, there's a zero learning curve, right? So with Oracle Linux Automation Manager, we didn't fork the open source project. So it's going to be, if you want, the same solution. So if for everyone today leveraging AWX or Ansible, there won't be any kind of difference while leveraging Oracle Linux Automation Manager. With those products, with the test and the support coming from Oracle, with all the possible security fixes, as also it could be obvious, but maybe important to mention that security is one of the first topics today at Oracle. And so also while looking at this kind of solution, we always keep an eye open on the security related to our solution, and we immediately get all the possible security fixes addressed into our enterprise solution.
That's great. Now, you mentioned that this is included with Oracle Linux Premier support, so you don't have to subscribe or, manage new licenses and the cost for all of that, or, budget for it. Can you tell us a little bit more about this Oracle Linux Premier support and what all is included with it?
Yeah, so the Oracle Linux Premier support, as already said, also includes the operating system support. So first of all, it's going to be a 24/7 enterprise support coming from Oracle. It includes the Linux operating system. It includes obviously Oracle Linux Automation Manager. Over there, you also have access to high availability solutions like Oracle Clusterware or CoroSync and Pacemaker. You have a comprehensive tracing with dtrace. You have access to Ksplice. Ksplice is our zero downtime security fixes solution for the kernel, as well as user space components. You have the support for Oracle Linux Manager. You have the support for Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager. That is another management solution focused on KVM hypervisor and again built from an open source project named Overt. And you also have the support for the Oracle Cloud Native environment. So everything related to container solutions like Kubernetes, Kata Container. And so you have access and you have the support. You do not only have access, you also have the support on all of those part of the Oracle Linux Premier support.
So it's really a lot more than Oracle Linux support. It's really a whole operating environment support.
You're right. It's not just the operating system. And this is also why we usually mention or try to say Oracle Linux environment or Oracle Linux ecosystem, right? Because it's not just
a lot more, right? Well, for our viewers who are now interested in checking Oracle Linux Automation Manager and Engine out, what would the next steps be?
So probably the best way is to just simply try it out. So it's available to install either via the Unbreakable Linux Network, or the public Oracle Linux Yum server. So just enable a repository and install it. And so if you want a little bit of help with that, we've got some training videos and they kind of give you an overview of the whole product itself, but also kind of a getting started thing. And the actual documentation is very good on that respect as well. So it's a kind of getting started section, shows you what to do, how to get it up and running, and, your first sort of steps. And there's an announcement blog as well, which has got some other information. Or, you can chat to us. You can chat to us or call us or reach out to us. I'd be more than happy to help.
Thank you, Simon and Simon. Let's see if we can respond to a few of the questions that have been coming in. Here's one. What version of Oracle Linux do I need to have in order to be able to install Oracle Linux Automation Manager? Simon Haler, you want to respond to that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So thank you for that one. So we need Oracle Linux 8. Further details on the guide, the Getting Started guide, and as I said, the kind of all the video will kind of help you there, what you need to do to start to get it up and running.
Here's another question. Do I have to purchase Oracle Linux Premier support to test Oracle Linux Automation Manager out?
I can take this one, Parmian. No, you can just install it, right? So Oracle Linux, as well as Oracle Linux Automation Manager code is available on yum.oracle.com website. That is the official Oracle Linux Yum server. So you can start from there, just install it. You are not required to get any Oracle Linux support to get access to the Oracle Linux code, as well as Oracle Linux Automation Manager code.
Nice. Okay, here's another one. I'm new to Ansible. Are there any example playbooks for simple tasks that I could refer to? Absolutely,
Pauline. Yeah, that's another good question, actually. So what we actually decided to do as part of the overall build. So there's a local repository set up in the Oracle Linux Automation Manager server, and there are 2 example playbooks there. So one simply just drives a Yum update. So you can take a look at that, and then you can enhance it if you want to. You can take it, make a copy, and then enhance it if you wish. And the other one installs via Yum an HTTP server, and also configures the firewall to actually support that in a firewall-based environment. So we give 2 away to get you started.
That's good to know. We have time for a couple more questions. here's another one. I already have Premier support for my system, for Oracle Linux on my system. What do I have to do to get the Automation Manager support added?
You get the support automatically, right? Just install it, start to use it, and in case of issues, you can just open a service request, reach out to us, and we will be glad to help you.
Great, so they don't have to do anything to start then taking advantage of this benefit. Okay, and one last question. Do I need Oracle Linux Premier support for each Linux node I'm managing with the Automation Manager?
Good question, Pani. I'll take that one. So you're not required to, but however, we usually find that most of our customers in production environments already have Oracle Linux Premier support. So you don't really need any other subscription or license to do. But again, you're not required to do so, but we kind of expect you to have it anyway.
Thank you. Well, I think we're out of time now. I want to thank everyone for joining us today and thank both Simons, and I'll hand it back to the moderator.
Thank you everyone for attending our webinar today, and thanks to our speakers for the insightful content they shared. If for some reason we were not able to answer your question during the broadcast, we'll get back to you via email. Visit our Tux Tech Talks page for upcoming and previous events using the QR code you see on the screen, or go to our website at oracle.com/Tux Tech Talks. Thank you and have a great day.